Israeli attacks against the Gaza Strip killed at least 39 Palestinians amid an increase of ground assaults by the Zionist regime in the northern part of the enclave. The failure of one of Cuba's main power plants left the entire nation without a of the power service is underway. And in Argentina, university students mobilized in rejection of Javier Milei's government policies in Mar del Plata, where the president will close the 16th colloquium of the IDEA University Institute. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Israeli attacks against the Gaza Strip on Friday have killed at least 39 Palestinians amid an increase of ground assaults by the Zionist regime in the northern part of the enclave. According to residents of the northern city of Havalia, Israeli tanks attacked the center of the refugee camp located 3 kilometers north of that city by using heavy air and ground fire after pushing through suburbs and residential districts. They also reported that the Israeli army is destroying dozens of houses on a daily basis from the air and the ground by placing bombs in buildings and detonating them remotely. The Havalia camp is the largest of Gaza's 8 historical refugee camps and has come under repeated Israeli bombardment. It has also witnessed several ground assaults since Israel launched its war on the region in October last year. The Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas has officially confirmed the death of its leader Yahya Sinwar, who was killed in combat fighting Israeli forces in Gaza. On Thursday, Israeli authorities announced that the leader had been killed in a battle that ensued when soldiers were searching an area in southern Gaza. Drone footage released by the military showed Sinwar badly wounded inside a bombed building, still managing to fight off the Zionist regime attack. In this context, on Friday, the Hamas senior leader Khalid al-Hajja confirmed the death, stressing that Sinwar battled and confronted weapon in hand, the Israeli army being at the forefront of the ranks until the last moments of his life. Hajja also stated that Hamas conditions for truce negotiations will not change after the martyrdom of its leader. The Palestinians held Friday the funeral prayer in absentia for Yahya Sinwar and all the Muslims killed and considered to be martyrs in the Gaza Strip.
Of course, today on Friday, we prayed the funeral prayer in absentia for the master of the martyrs of Palestine, Abu Ibrahim, who was killed in action and was chosen by Allah yesterday while combating the enemy in the area of Tal al-Sultan in the Rafah city. Of course, we just say we belong to Allah, and indeed, to Him we return. In fact, he always used to say, the greatest gift the occupation can give me is to assassinate me. Today he died as a martyr. May Allah have mercy on Abu Ibrahim and grant him the highest paradise. We will remain, if Allah wills, faithful to the covenant and ask Allah to have mercy on all the martyrs, heal our wounded and release our prisoners.
وأن يعافي جرحى في كقيد أسرانا اللهم آمين. بالنسبة لصلاة الغائب هذه صلاة يعني سنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وليس فرض لك.
Of course, as for the funeral prayer in absentia, it is a sign of prayer of the Prophet. May Allah bless him and grant him peace. And it is not compulsory, and we have a reward for it from Allah the Almighty, and Allah accepts all martyrs. The prayer is not only for Abu Ibrahim, but the prayer was for all martyrs, not for the martyrs of Gaza, but for the martyrs of the Muslims in general. And we hope that Allah accepts it. Of course, there were many sayings from people that it was this or that. The word is not due to Abu Ibrahim or any person, but it is a fixed and written term. Allah wrote for a person how to die. Of course, we felt sad when he was killed in action. And as a brother Al-Jatif said, he was a mujahideen and a fighter, but Allah chose him, and we consider him a martyr with Allah's permission.
In Yemen, thousands of citizens mobilized in the streets of the capital to demand an end to the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip. Friday's mobilization rendered tribute to the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, martyred in the middle of the Israeli bombardments against Gaza. The demonstrators raised their flags in support of the struggles of the Palestinian, Lebanese and Yemeni resistance against the occupation. The escalation of violence has reached a critical point, and since October 7, 2023, more than 42,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed in the Gaza Strip. In addition, thousands of people are agonizing in hospitals where Israel prevents them from receiving humanitarian aid.
The axis of resistance is a fertile movement with great people and leaders. A greater leader will emerge, and the Palestinian cause will remain a priority until Palestine is liberated from the clutches of the Zionist entity. We are on the path of those great martyrs, and we are ready for martyrdom. How can you threaten a nation that loves martyrdom? The martyr Yahya Sinwar is nothing but a great man who tormented you. The October 7 operation was a curse on you and will remain a curse that will haunt you and shame you in front of the world that you are weak, humiliated, and defeated.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The failure of one of Cuba's main power plants left the entire nation without electricity on Friday. The disruption happened at around 11 a.m. local time when the Antonio Guiterres power plant abruptly switched itself off from the national power grid, shutting down the country's entire electrical system. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel informed the nation on X that the government and the electrical system authorities are giving absolute priority to solving as soon as possible the contingency and that they will not rest until the power service is fully restored. On the other hand, the electricity director of the Ministry of Energy and Mining, Lázaro Guerra, informed that a gradual process for the reestablishment of the national electric system has already begun and is moving forward as planned. The causes of the plant's failure are being investigated. In this context, Cuba's Director of Energy from the Ministry of Energy and Mining, Lázaro Guerra, offered statements as the government is doubling efforts to solve the energy contingency the country is facing.
The start of the power plant of Santa Cruz that is in this moment starting. We are working in the failure of the Guiterres power plant. We are working in the solution of this failure, and also in the eastern part, we have power supply in another power plant, which will allow us to start to carry out the work that is needed in this unit to start again with these units in our system. And the floating power plant of Santiago de Cuba, we started a motor with the fuel that is not normally needed to start, but we could supply fuel to the motor of this unit, which will help us to provide energy to this power plant to start from there a restoring process. And the same happens in the MOA power plant. We have energy there, will allow us to start a process of a microsystem there, and therefore we are going to apply the same in each of the territories of the country. We have a problem in Central. We're working right now in that, and we are working another system in Camagüey to solve and provide energy to the Nuevitas power plant. What we're doing in the whole country is look for ways to reach the power plants to start the processes of putting them to work in the power supply plant of Mariel and in the eastern part, and fundamentally to reach Felton power plant this way, which is also available in the eastern region, which is the #1 power plant. Felton power plant was not affected. It's available right now. Once we reach with the energy to the Felton power plant, we can start with the work of this unit. We have a system working in the central region of the country and the distributed region energy we have in a central area, and we are close to provide in Varadero gas, which is another important power plant that are available, and from there we can improve the conditions of our system. We are working in the restoring process, and we will continue to work the whole night and the early morning in this process so that we can process in the reestablishment of the service and strengthen the microsystems so that we can gain in strength and integrate microsystems to win strength in the interconnected systems and have the interconnected national system, which is the main objective that we have right now. I would like to tell you that we have all of the power and strength and specialists which are qualified as operators of the power plants who are focused.
Venezuela expressed its absolute solidarity and unconditional support to Cuba in the midst of the energy crisis suffered by the Caribbean nation besieged by the U.S. blockade. In a communique issued by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ivan Gil, assured the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela expressed its absolute solidarity and unconditional support to the Republic of Cuba while it is facing the current energy contingency caused by the cruel intensification of the economic war and the U.S. financial and energy persecution through the application of the illegal blockade. The communique adds that Venezuela supports Cuba for all the efforts made by its people to confront the coercive measures imposed by the United States. Venezuela urges the U.S. to eliminate Cuba from the list of alleged countries sponsoring terrorism. In other news, Venezuelan Minister of Communication and Information, Freddy Ñañez, and the delegation he sent into the media summit in China visited Friday the headquarters of the state-owned news agency Xinhua. The Venezuelan minister, accompanied also by teleSUR's president Patricia Villegas, attended a presentation on the latest technological tools that Xinhua has been using in its communications strategy. The delegation also visited one of the agency's state-of-the-art studios, the Xinhua New Cube, a space to create a visual environment for the presentation of news. Ñañez met also with Xinhua's president Fu Hua, who stressed the agency's desire to strengthen ties with its Venezuelan counterparts. In Argentina, university students mobilized in rejection of Javier Milei's government policies in Mar del Plata, where the president will close the 16th colloquium of the IDEA University Institute. The march rejects the defunding that the educational sector is experiencing due to the adjustments of Milei's administration. The demonstrators claimed that the government's actions affect the university staff salaries, which represents almost 90% of the expenses of the faculties that have lost 25% of their purchasing power since December. The General Confederation of Labor and the Argentine Workers' Union also joined the protest. In view of the events, the authorities set up a security operation in the territory. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasting, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. 7 people have been killed and 6 injured after a suicide bomber detonated an unidentified device at a cafe outside a police training school in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. According to the police, both officers and civilians were among the victims who had been drinking tea outside the General Kachije Police Academy. An eyewitness assured there were people who found the suicide bomber suspicious due to the item he was carrying, questioning his intentions. After they voiced their worries, he blew himself up. According to witnesses, rescuers quickly arrived after the explosion. A paramedic at Medina Hospital said several injured people were receiving treatment. Al-Shabaab, the armed group linked to Al-Qaeda, claimed responsibility for the attack. Ivory Coast's government bans all student unions following the death of 2 students and the arrest of 17 suspects during a raid at a powerful student association's housing. The ban came after a government raid on a student housing controlled by a student union known by its French acronym FTS that the government says was connected to the deaths. The National Security Council said that officers discovered large caches of weapons as well as several illegal businesses within the student housing complex on the main campus of the University of Abidjan. The arrest targeted FTS leadership, including the General Secretary Sie Cambo, who was arrested in connection with the killings. France's Prime Minister Michel Barnier said on Friday that firefighters and other rescuers have been involved in about 2,300 operations, some of them life-saving, in what appears to be the biggest flooding for 40 years in central France. Barnier visited French authorities' crisis center in Paris, and stated there had been not been such violent rains in many people's memory. More than 1,000 people were evacuated. However, most of them were able to go back home on Friday. French weather agency Météo France declared that as much as 700 millimeters of rain fell in 48 hours in some local areas in the regions of Ardèche and TeleSUR. In addition, the national railway operator SNCF announced that local train services will remain disrupted for several days. Météo France lifted its red alert for bad weather on Friday morning, but still warned of potential heavy rain and floods in southwestern France. In India, New Delhi's air quality plunges into the very poor category with a hazy layer of smog blanketing the city. As northern India's Delhi prepares for Diwali celebrations, rising pollution levels have raised alarms, with toxic foam visible on the Yamuna River and the air quality index plunging into the poor and very poor categories. The capital's annual struggle with hazardous air intensifies every autumn, driven by seasonal stubble burning in neighboring agrarian states. The Central Pollution Control Board has noted that an A key in the poor category can cause breathing discomfort with prolonged exposure, while levels in the very poor category can lead to respiratory illnesses. As Diwali, the Festival of Lights, approaches on October 31st, 2024, these pollution levels pose a significant health risk for residents. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.